Welcome to Face the State. I'm Ariana Bennett. Thank you for being with us. The CDC estimates that as of 2023 at least, 11% of Americans were taking some kind of prescription medication to treat depression. But what if those meds aren't working for everyone the way they're intended to? And if not, how can you safely stop taking them? Psychiatrist Dr. David Healy is here with me to talk about that. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
It's good to be here, Ariana.
Now, that's great to hear, because you came a long way, all the way from Ireland here to Reno for a special event. So grateful to have your expertise here. You've written several books about this topic, kind of documenting your observations over many, many years with seeing, the rise of antidepressants. Can you kind of describe for me what you've seen over those years?
Okay, well, there's a key change happening right now, and you may be able to tell me more about it than I'm able to tell you. One of the big things that we've known for a long time is that these are pills that are usually taken by women more than by men. Okay, it's slightly more than 50% more women take them than men. Okay, and it's usually been women of middle years and slightly older years, and often they can't get off them, so they're on them for years and years and years. But in the last 10 years, there's been an interesting change that nobody really understands, which is the group of people who actually begin these drugs now are teenage girls and women in their early 20s. They used to take these drugs before, but now they're taking them in ever greater numbers. They're beginning these drugs more than older women and things like that, and much more than teenage boys or men in their 20s. So this is an interesting thing. One of the things linked into that is that the rate at which women are, younger women are going on to commit suicides going up as well. And there's a big debate going on. Is this caused by being bullied on social media, or is it the pills that they're taking that are actually causing them to commit suicide? So these are interesting issues that are in play. No one really has the answer for them. My hunch is, yes, you can get bullied on maybe the social media and things like that, and that isn't going to be fun, and it may be an awful problem for some people. But all things being equal, I'm more inclined to think that a drug that can cause healthy volunteers to commit suicide, if you're going on it and the rates of suicide are going up and the rates at which people are going on the drugs going up, then it's probably the drugs that are causing the problem.
Man, is this a particularly unpopular opinion, are you finding, in the medical community?
Well, one of the extraordinary things about this isn't that it's just doctors per se. These are old drugs, and you don't have the pharmaceutical industry out there selling them hard, okay? And the other thing we've known for nearly 20 years is that when they've done clinical trials in this age group, they can't show the drugs work. In the sense of, overall we've got very convincing evidence that it can be awfully helpful for you to take these drugs. It's unclear that they help. But as I say, we've got this interesting phenomenon, which is this is the age group that they're being used by the most. So exactly what's going on is a bit unclear. Doctors generally don't like to think that they aren't helping you. And they don't particularly like to hear someone like me saying, well, maybe we're not helping people as much as we think we are. But yeah, no, I think it's a thing that needs to be faced up to.
It seems a hard thing to slow such a big machine if the prevailing wisdom is that this is a way to help people. So many people have bought into this over so many years. Hard to kind of unring that bell, I would imagine. You wrote in one of your books that you yourself believed in them, at least initially. Can you tell me about what it was like when they first came on the scene?
Yeah, well, I still do. I mean, I was working on the serotonin system that these drugs work on, okay, long before the drugs actually appeared. So I believe these drugs can be helpful, but if you ask me, how many people do they help? Well, first of all, they don't fix anything. They can be useful, but they don't actually fix something. So the issue is you really shouldn't be on them for a very long period of time. You should be on them for a period until you've begun to recover, and then get off them as soon as you can. But if we ask the question of, well, if you go on these drugs, are they going to help you? The answer is they can help some people, not others. It's a bit like LSD works on the serotonin system, which is a normal serotonin system, and can give some people a good trip and other people a bad trip. the SSRI antidepressants can do pretty much the same thing. They can give some people a good trip, some people a bad trip, and it really works out about 50-50. Now, part of the problem is you get a bunch of people, and I know a bunch of teenagers, okay, who've been put on these pills, and they say, this really isn't helping me. And the doctor says, well, they can take weeks to work, you know, so you need to stay on them. And if you've got a person saying, they aren't helping me, and they're told to stay on the pills, this is where things begin to go wrong. You can often know very early on, I mean, if you're on the pills yourself, you can know, yes, this is helping me, and I like the effect it's having, and that's fine. Lots of people say, well, I don't like the effect, but they're told to stay on them, and that's where things begin to go wrong.
So once you've been on them for a good long time, is it safe to stop them cold turkey, or do you need to phase off?
Well, that's a great question, and the issue is a group of us who can halt these drugs without too much of a problem. Some people can halt them if they taper, but if you've been on them for a long time, it's unlike LSD, which you take LSD every so often and it acts on your serotonin system. Doesn't damage the system, but if you're on these drugs for weeks or months, maybe even years, and they come in a reasonably high dose, there isn't a low dose of these drugs, you're on a reasonably high dose from the get-go, then it can damage the system. And if you try to get off, you may not be able to get off, or if you get off, things aren't right. It can take years for things to come back to normal.
So then, would you urge just more caution when it comes to the prescription of these and maybe patients advocating for themselves as well?
Yes, I would. And a little bit of the problem is, I think, it's a bit like possibly smoking, you know. If you come from a home where your parents are on these drugs, you're much more likely to begin them yourself. It's a bit like coming from a home where maybe your father kind of smoked, you're more likely also to smoke. And that's the problem we've got now, I think, in the teenage years. Before, teenagers didn't have parents who were on these pills, but now if they've got anxious, they've got nervous problems, and they say to their parents, look, I'm feeling anxious, and the parent is on these pills, the pills become a bit too easy of an answer. And when they come to me to say, look, I've been told by my mom or my dad that I should come to you and check and see about the pills, and I say, well, you know, you really don't want to take these things too quickly. They say, okay, fine, and they go and see a different doctor.
Okay, so then let's pretend that we continue this conversation beyond, okay, we're not recommending the pills at this time. What do you recommend instead?
Well, I think the thing that people aren't told is, yes, you're having a problem, you're more anxious than you were, and of course the teenage years are a period of time when we're all confused. I know I was very confused when I was a teenager, but you know, it used to be the case that we thought, this was good for you. You need to go through a period of confusion. You're entering a crazy world, so you need to work out, you know, how to handle it and what your path will be. So there's things like that that you need to hear about, but also you need to hear that the problem you have, the nervous problem you have, on average lasts maybe about 12 weeks or so. You're going to come out of it anyway without pills, without therapy. And if you come out of it under your own steam, you're likely to be more resilient in the long run. So what I would say to people is, look, you will come out of this. You seem fine to me. You seem awfully normal. You've got the kind of problems we've all had. Hang on in there. And if things don't work out, you can keep actually coming back to see me weekly, and if things don't work out, well, we have pills which we can try.
Okay, so then what else can people do to improve their mental health without the pharmaceuticals? What do you recommend?
Well, it's improving mental health is, and I mean, we've got this idea that we need to be the perfect weight, we need to be the perfect mental health, we need to be the perfect this, that, and the other, and that's really not the way things work. You know, we vary. We can have periods of time when when we're doing well, periods of time when we aren't doing so well, but that's life, and we need to kind of ride it. You know, we shouldn't be always trying to make things perfect.
I feel like that is an almost un-American attitude. And I'm wondering if I'm just hearing that differently because it's coming from you and you aren't an American, but I do think the American ideal of big smile on your face, successful life, this resilience and always doing everything to perfection is required. And kind of hearing that, no, you don't have to be happy all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine that would be a relief for a lot of patients to hear.
Sure. Part of the problem is, if you go on these pills, it's becoming an increasing problem because you end up on the pills we put you on. And a lot of doctors, if you have problems with the first pill, will say, oh, well, we've got a pill to help with the problem you're having with the first pill. And you've got a lot of teenagers these days on 8 or 10 psychotropic drugs. It's not just one antidepressant you're on mood stabilizers and things like that. Let me come back. It's not just US in the sense of this is the way you guys have always thought. It's increasingly US in the sense that if you take ADHD, for instance, okay, the pharmaceutical industry used to know we can't sell ADHD or pills for ADHD anywhere there's a grandmother, because she'll say, oh, you're saying this kid has ADHD? Well, he's exactly like what his father was at that age, and he's turned out fine. So why do we need to do anything about it?
It does feel like we've just set up systems that set kids up to fail a little bit. We have expectations of them that are just not reasonable.
Well, I think there's a little bit of that, but also we aren't quite as rooted. We don't live in communities the way we used to do, and where there will be people who knew you from scratch and knew all the ins and outs, and older people who were able to give you a bit of advice.
Yeah. Okay, well, we are just about out of time. This has been such an interesting discussion. I wish I could talk to you longer. But just for those watching and maybe feeling like they could use a little help or someone they know could use a little help, what is your best advice?
The best advice is get a doctor who listens to you. You don't want to go to a doctor and just listen to them. If you've got a strong view about if these pills are actually helping you or not, you need to find a doctor who's going to listen to you and work with you rather than work from the books. Okay.
And if not, try the resilience piece, maybe.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, but with care, yes, you're going to be more resilient if you get well on your own, but you also want a person who can say, well, you're trying too hard and we do need to maybe give you an extra little bit of help.
Okay. Well, that was great. Thank you so much. David, I really appreciate your time.
Good. It was great to be here, Ariana.
Well, coming up on Face the State, I will sit down with a local justice of the peace to hear about a new program meant specifically to help women in the system. Stay with us.